You get to choose a life with magic or a life without. I choose magic. Hey there, it's Deb D, founder of Big Life Magic, and this is You Are the Magic, the show that is supporting you in practical magic. This is that beautiful mix between the woo and the how to. For if it's true that you are the magic, what do you need to know about the magic within you? And then what are you going to do about that magic? That's what You Are the Magic is all about. Through storytelling, magic activations, and energy forecasts, I'm going to be sharing with you why you are the magic and then what you're going to do about it so that you can move closer to getting your version of big life magic. So here we are, my friends. Breathe it in, believe it to be true. Smile. You are the magic. Let's do this thing. Hey there, magic makers. Welcome back to the next episode of You Are the Magic. As always, my absolute delight to be with you. Today, we are in for a treat. For today, we are going to be playing in the realm of ritual. And it's not just me. I have one of my magical playmates here with me today. My friend Tammy, who is indeed one of my magical playmates, is going to be joining me for a conversation about our 10 years of being friends, creative companions, and magical playmates, and some of what we've been getting up to over the past 10 years, but also this play around being intentional about ritual. Because I think for some people, ritual can be a little bit woo, or I don't know how to do that. And so today, Tammy and I are going to share some ways that we have done that, and in particular, a big, beautiful ritual that we shared at the end of 2023, which took us into 2024. But more about that when Tammy meets us here. But the thing to know is this: the women invited to speak here on You Are the Magic are women who I have identified as they're in their big life. They are making some magic happen. And I want to celebrate them, and I'm hoping that they inspire you because they inspire me. So let's now bring this magic maker, my friend Tammy, here so that she can share her magic.
Hello.
Hi, Tammy Magic.
Oh, I'm so glad to be here with you. I love your
Yes.
intro. I can't believe 10 years.
10 years.
10 years of love and magic.
And we began in creativity. So 10 years ago, Tammy and I connected in New York City because we were both working on the same theatre project. And I had only just moved to New York City. I had not a single friend. And Tammy, you were my first friend in the city.
Oh,
yeah.
What a sweet relationship we've gotten to have.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness.
And we started in this creativity, and then the magic came, and now we've got the creativity with the magic because like me, you're also trained as a theatre practitioner, as many other things. But I want to begin with the question that I ask the women who come here on You Are the Magic to share their magic. Please tell us, what is the magic that you share and create?
Well, I'm so honored to be asked that question by you, Deb, magic maker of magic makers. I think on point for today's conversation, I feel really lucky and blessed that ritual has been in one of my languages since I was very young. I grew up in the Jewish tradition, and it gave me the opportunity to be exposed to a way of relating to time and space, where taking an action or marking something with a prayer created a change of state, a change of pace. One of my favorite blessings is just marking a new experience. It's called the Shehechianu. And it's just basically giving gratitude to the universe for the life that we've been sustained with in order to experience this new moment. And that's something that I think I cannot underestimate or separate from my magic journey, is the upbringing and the opportunity to learn a certain spiritual language, which is now one of the spiritual languages I speak, and not the only one, but provides a lot of grounding there. So
That resonates so deeply with me, because part of our friendship has been all that you have taught me about this spiritual language, which was absolutely not my language, around all of the different prayers and rituals as a part of your Jewish upbringing, your faith, these traditions. Absolutely. Yeah, I feel blessed by it too now.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
we've had some time where you've invited me into these rituals with you, which for me were like brand new. Like I was learning right from the first beat,
Yeah.
you know, all the way to, like, you know, sometimes when you'll speak in Hebrew through a prayer, it's like, to me, it's like really delicious to be in that space where it's not just a different ritual or tradition. It's got like literally got different language,
Yeah.
different ways of blending
Yeah.
all the pieces together. So rich, so rich.
And one of the languages that you really introduced me to was the language of cards, and the getting to learn tarot a lot through through our friendship and through our shared use of oracle cards. So I feel like there's been this kind of back and forth of sharing our spiritual languages, learning Reiki from you, and kind of having the opportunity to step into like a fuller exploration of, I say this with the most affectionate way possible, of my woo, like a
Yeah,
fuller exploration of just like no holds bar, just like, what does it look like to be connected with spirit for me, for us together?
yeah, yeah. And what does it look like when we do it with playmates?
Mm-hmm.
When we say yes and
Mm-hmm.
to what someone else might be bringing forward. Like I'm having this memory of, we're at Nylon Pool, Tammy. So for those who don't know, Nylon Pool is an amazing sandbank literally in the Caribbean Sea. You take a boat out there and then you get off the boat and you're standing in the Caribbean Sea, like in the middle of the sea. It's a big sandbank off the reef. And Tammy was the reason that I came to Tobago for the first time. Tammy was doing a project here, Trinidad, Tobago, and I was here visiting, and you and I had gone out on a boat and we were swimming in Nylon Pool. And I can't remember the name of it, Tammy, but there's a prayer that you do where you dunk yourself 3 times in the water. And just out of nowhere, we were just swimming and you were like, hey, we could do this. And I was like, absolutely, we could do that. And so it was just this spontaneous prayer, ritual, playmate time, saying yes to the woo and what's possible. Do you want to just explain that
Yeah.
to everyone listening?
Yes. This is called a mikveh. It's a ritual bath, and you're supposed to do it in running water is what it's called, or living water is another way it's translated. So you want water that's moving. So at the ocean, a river, or sometimes in different communities, people would actually bring water from a river. And that's a very common practice. So there's different ways people accomplish this. But I love that idea that this ritual bath needs to be in living or flowing water. The mikveh is done traditionally. There's a few times that it's done. Before a wedding is one example. It's also really associated with women, which we could get into this another time. But in terms of purification practices for women, and I have expanded it and utilized it like many others have, to broaden that to calling on that, using that ritual when we just want to experience some connection or renewal. The same idea of, what am I taking in and what am I letting go of, that I think we often look at in ritual practice of what's for me to keep and move with, and what's for me to release here. And so the mikveh is really about release. And in between the different dunks, there's a tradition that you come up and you say kadosh, which means holy. So you're kind of releasing and then bringing in the holy, and releasing and bringing in the holy, releasing, bringing in the holy. And it's a three times of a dunk.
Yes, I remember it so well. I remember it so well, our little spontaneous playtime in Nylon Pool. And we've had many, many. times
we
where
have.
it's, and sometimes we've been very intentional, and sometimes it's been like this spontaneous where literally just jumped off a boat and we're in the Caribbean Sea. Why don't we do this? Okay. And because it was years ago, I don't know what I was cleansing or clearing, but I do clearly remember the moment. Like I remember the feeling of being held by, there's a structure here, there's instructions for me to do, and it's going to help me to release and open to this. Like that's what something I love about ritual is that we don't have to make up all of the steps.
Yeah.
Sometimes we can follow a tradition, or sometimes we can follow a guide and be held and feel like we have some scaffolding over what we're trying to figure out, or what we're trying to figure out, what to release or what to invite in. And you go.
Yeah, well, just I also feel like the other part of ritual that gets to is how we create change through the ritual pronouncement. Like, and it's the same idea as like performativity when it comes to like gender theory. We create our gender through the ways that we perform. Like ritual is an action that we take that creates a difference in our lives. That's kind of like a line in the sand that sometimes we feel, sometimes we might not feel as strongly, but I do also kind of look back and I have those like line in the sand moments of ritual where I clearly felt an energetic shift and I pronounced that shift, and I utilized like physicality in some way to mark that for myself. So in this case, the physicality of dunking in the water 3 times. But even lighting a candle, like something small that shifts the energy through a physical, observable, manifest action that shifts the less manifest or the less observable.
Yeah, that marker of time, the before and the after. Yeah, and the initiation and the exploration and the expansiveness. A word that you and I have been sharing recently is spaciousness, to creating the space for it. Yeah, and setting that intention. And as creative magical playmates, one of the first spaces we created together, which is many moons ago now, is we would connect every new moon to check in with each other, to check in with ourselves, and then to witness each other in setting an intention for that new moon. And this was, I think am I correct in saying it was 2018 when we started doing New Moon?
It was earlier, honestly. My memory is that it was earlier when we were both still living in New York together.
Oh, yes, it would have been. Yeah, so it's quite a few years sustained with, and we had this consistent practice, which of course, like all things, ebbs and flows over the years, but it's been one of our practices. And I want to tell everybody, we are recording this on the new moon of Pisces. Thank you very much. On the 10th of March, which we didn't plan until we saw the calendar and went, oh, that's the day we're going to record. But just a little bit about our new moon practice, Tammy, because it's kind of where our ritual began, you and I. And I don't think we ever actually sat down and said, right, for the next X amount of years, we are going to connect every new moon. These are the rules. This is how we're going to do it. I don't have a memory of that at all.
I don't think so. I mean, I think there were times that we must have done it when we were living in the same city, naturally as part of our conversation and being together. But then it shifted to this kind of like, okay, it's new moon. What's my intention? What am I going to share with Deb? When are we going to have our little check-in? And I honestly have felt so honored that to have like the reflection of you wanting and like seeking that engagement with me, and like vice versa. I feel like that kind of relational aspect of like the space of like inspiration and admiration and like just the commitment to like the concept that we have here of like big life of like, I feel like it's kind of for me setting intentions on that regular of a schedule, which I, again, like everything ebbs and flows, but I'm very big on intentions. Setting those intentions every month is like a way of standing for myself and for my life, and doing that in a way in connection where we get to witness each other and hold each other as we explore those intentions over the month and reflect back on them, was, just a huge like wind under the wings, I think.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember the power for me of being witnessed, because there's something about saying it out loud
Yeah.
when it can be heard to somebody else and when you can hear yourself. It's like creating a declaration. Because for me, there is a difference between the things I might journal about, the things I might kind of, have flowing through my system when I'm meditating or walking the beach. And then when I start to speak them into being, when I start to share them with other people, when I start to act and be in that way, that there's a definite difference for me. But having this time when you and I would check in, and sometimes it would be I would remember and say, hey, when are we having our phone date for new moon? And sometimes it was you. Sometimes we wouldn't actually meet. We'd send each other voice notes. But it was just this constant, I'm being held by this space again, like this space where I get to just pause. And one thing I really love about it is it makes me think, what was I thinking last month?
Yeah.
Because it goes quickly. Life is life is life, and it's going to keep doing that. And so to have these check-in moments with my own magic, to be like, actually, what am I up to? Have I moved that needle forward? Have I released that thing that I wanted to release?
Yeah.
Because the other thing over the years now of doing it is you don't have a brand new intention every new moon. You watch them roll out, So I've been with you and you've been with me, where these new moon intentions have been, some of them months and months and months long, of something that we're working with or opening up to.
Yeah.
And seeing those layers and seeing that in each other and holding space for that.
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate that point, because I think sometimes I can feel sometimes like pressure of like, oh, well, I created this intention. I did all these things to try to, move towards that intention, which might include ritual and might include organizing, but different types of activities that might move me towards something. And then that the reality of like the human system is it takes as long as it takes. And like having the willingness, the patience to like hold an intention or allow the intention to reemerge, maybe in slightly different words, in a slightly different way, to like slowly unfurl.
And also to have the space where the intention has its own energy too. So like the intention's going to change you, which will then change what you do. And then the intention is going to shift. Like an example would be like, I might be setting out to do something in my business. And in the doing of seeking to do that, what it reveals to me is an energetic block or a mindset, something that I have about getting that thing. And it's like, oh, okay, so this intention, working with this intention, has now revealed that actually there's my magical work in working with that. Which is then, it's not a step back, it's actually the step forward into the spiral of it all being created. But like staying with an intention and staying with a ritual and allowing it to move you is, it's fun.
Yeah.
And revealing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like you and I know we're partly what we're going to talk about today is the ritual that you and I did when we were together in Tobago at the end of 2023, moving into 2024. And as you're speaking something like, using the word fun, like it is fun. And like, that's part of where the magic is in the kind of like playful, creative space that we're able to access, of like piecing things together and seeing what happens, seeing what sticks by combining disparate, objects or ideas.
Yeah. Yeah. And like having the rules, but breaking the rules at the same time. So let's go there, Tammy. So as shared for everybody, Tammy also has a relationship with Trinidad and Tobago. She had the relationship before me. It was because of Tammy that I came down here for the first time. And then, so the story goes, met the werewolf, fell in love. Now I live here. But Tammy has come back more than once. And recently Tammy was back and we spent a week together. And it was that limbo week between Christmas and New Year, where everything's kind of changing, and there's for me anyway, there's some pressure to have a plan for the new year, reflect on the year that has been, and have a plan, and like that's what happens in that weird limbo week. And we were together for days upon days, and we had the most gorgeous, deep ritual fun over many days across the island with our little car that we got a lot of sand in over the days. We really did well in having days of a rolling ritual. So I just wanted to kind of go into that a little bit, Tammy, to kind of give people a glimpse into what does it look like if you just actually let yourself create and play and be informed by nature and the time and your playmates. Just because what I'm hoping the people listening they're gonna receive is like the yes and for themselves. They're like, well, where could I do this? What could be possible for me?
Yeah.
So we can share some of like what happened for us in those days and what we actually did. Like again, with this intention or this like desire of mine, with just like for other people to pick up the magic wand.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Tammy, for you, when we were together here and we knew we were in this limbo week where the year is turning over and we knew we had time together, before we began officially working on the ritual, what was your kind of like intention, or what kind of drew you towards wanting to explore ritual over days?
Well, I don't think I had planned on it at all, Deb. I think it emerged naturally and organically from us just being in proximity to each other, having built the kind of friendship that we have that is built on the foundation of ritual and holding space for each other and creative play.
Yeah.
I think I don't remember having sat and said, I'm going to go spend a week with Deb doing ritual. I think I showed up and then we did Deb and Tammy.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And also I think I asked that question because like for me, I was like, Tammy's coming. That means I get ritual. Like I've got a friend who's coming who I say, hey, you want to do a ritual? They go, okay, let's play. So I think for me, there was like, I was like, oh, I'm going to have some time. There's going to be some time before this year clicks over, but I don't have to do this all on my own.
Yeah.
I don't have to decide what I need to end 2023. It can actually happen with my friend.
Yeah.
Because I know when we get together, this is the kind of stuff that we do.
Yep.
Yep. So for those people who this is not the kind of stuff that they do, how would you kind of describe our rolling ritual?
Yeah. Well, I think at the foundation was, you and I have each been doing this work for ourselves. And so seeing that 2023 was ending, 2024 was coming, I think we both kind of were in that bit of liminal space like you were describing. And the way we entered it was very gentle. I mean, we went to a beach and we collected, shells and items off the beach with no specific intention other than let's just collect some nice things and we'll see what we can do with these, some things that spark our attention. I think there was a lot of that, of just like taking inspiration from the moment. We talked a lot about lingering, about just sitting, speaking of that spaciousness word, there it is, that lingering and sitting. And I want to credit a meditation teacher of mine, Dana, for introducing me to the use of that word. And I think there was something in entering that spaciousness that energy of like collecting bits and pieces that ultimately we got to put together. So I remember I went through your collection of oracle cards and I pulled out some decks without even pulling cards yet. I was just like, okay, here's another, little bit. We went grocery shopping and fruit shopping, which I love fruit, as Deb knows very well.
Yeah.
And like in our choice of foods, even like bringing that intentionality of like what was going to feel good in our bodies. And then spending time at the sea. I mean, and also just in the gorgeous nature of Tobago, but, really spending time to take in the environment that we were inside of and to move from that place. So I feel like from there, it kind of like built slowly. Like we put together, those objects, we put them in the trunk and we just drove across the island to see what might happen with a destination in mind, but taking the long way and not being too concerned about arriving there. Um, and then we again really took our time. That was when we went to the waterfall, is what I'm
Mm.
thinking about, and really took our time. And I did a mikveh at ritual bath at that waterfall spot too. Um, I'm thinking about the transition from that open unknown into the beginning of form and shape taking.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm there too, Tammy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember you said to me at one point, you said, we should get the things out of the trunk of the car,
Mm.
or the things that we'd collected from the beach. So so there was like some sea fan, there was some driftwood, some shells.
Mhm.
And I remember saying to you, no, let's leave them in there and see what else we can collect. Let's
Uh-huh.
continue to collect and
Mhm.
see what we can create. And that's
Mhm.
when you were like, okay. So I think that was one of the moments where it kind of anchored in with like, oh, we're building something here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because that first beach that we went to where we collected those first bits and pieces, I remember going there with you because I wanted to show it to you because it's where the sea fans come in, where so much comes in from the sea, just the way the sea moves.
Mhm.
And whenever I go to that beach, to me, it feels like the ocean is giving gifts onto
Mm.
the sand that you can accept if you want and, create meaning or not
Mhm.
about. And so I think it was like this, that was for me, bringing in it's you, me, and nature,
Uh-huh.
you
Uh-huh.
know, because whether we were at the beach or whether we were at the rainforest, there was a real connection to where are we and how is this kind of influencing what we want to do or what we want to say
Yeah.
or not say.
Mhm.
There
Mhm.
were definitely times when we didn't necessarily share a lot. We were just together in space.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there was because we had that benefit of time and days, we were able to really fully explore both of those things. Like I felt like I was able to share with you really so much depth about what was going on in my life and where I was at across a range of aspects of my life. And I felt like I was able to hear from you as well and to allow those stories to unfold and come out over the course of days so that then when we had quiet space and time together, we were also connected. Like we kind of we were in that space together because we'd had the opportunity to get that deep, that the silence, was also a form of holding. And I'm starting to think about our Englishman's Bay
Yeah,
ritual. Are we
I'm
ready for
going.
that?
Yeah, I'm ready there too. I'm ready there too. So for everyone following along, picture this. Tammy and I, for like about 5 days now, we've been in our little car. There's a whole heap of sand because we've been collecting stuff as we've been going. We've been sitting in nature and pulling oracle cards. We've been sitting at waterfalls and meditating and meeting amazing people. And we're now 5 days in, which means we've had a lot of time in sharing stories. A couple of times we've pulled cards, some deeper reflections. We've already started to think, what does this mean for my year coming forward? We'd started kind of there as we were making our way to Englishman's Bay. And so then, Tammy, take us to Englishman's Bay.
Oh, Englishman's Bay is, in my very humble opinion, the most beautiful place in the world.
Mm.
This is a beach that is just breathtaking to me every time I've been there. But at Englishman's Bay, we kind of arrive, and we've already been to Englishman's Bay once that week, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so we're back to get a little more of this gem. And we decide to settle at the very end of the beach where the river meets the sea. And that's just such a powerful spot to begin with. You turn one direction and you see the flowing, clear water, and the other direction, and the waves are breaking against the rocks there. So we settle in, we start to kind of ground and again collect items. So I think you found a coconut. I pulled out or found a magic wand. I don't remember if it was from the bag of tricks we brought with us or right from Englishman's Bay. But we kind of organically start to assemble a shrine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we were there for hours.
Yes.
We were there for hours. Like, we definitely lingered.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and for me, this was the pinnacle, because we knew that we only had, like, I think at that point, a day and a half left before you were on the plane to Trinidad. So we knew that we were getting towards the point, where this is going to come to its crescendo.
Yeah.
And we started to build this shrine, and we literally built it like right in the sandy part where the beautiful rainforest river meets the ocean, and you can see the oceans washing into the river and the river washing into the ocean. It's just like there is nature's magic right there.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I remember is we went exploring, Tammy, and we went across the river, and across the river on not a far bank, but definitely across the river.
Yeah.
There was a tree that the river and the ocean had ebbed away at the soil surrounding its roots. So the tree was still standing proud on this riverbank, but you could see all of the roots, and it made like this natural little cave that we could go into.
Mm-hmm.
And we decided that we were going to do some like magic activations in there in the root of the tree. And to me, that was probably one of my, I wouldn't say favorite because there's too many favorites, but for me, probably one of the stronger moments in the days that we spent rolling in ritual together, because it felt like I was anchoring in everything that I had explored in the days with you. And like I could become the roots of the tree, like what I didn't need could come back down to the earth to be recycled, and I could bring some energy up. It was like, I remember that moment at Englishman's Bay going, okay, right, I've hit my climax. This is the bit where it gets really good. This is now embodied. Like, I felt like all that we had been working through for the days, which was like a mix of fun and deep knowing and new reflections, but it kind of felt like I could actually embody it at that point. And yeah, for me, that felt like the part that made all the difference. It's like, how sometimes you're doing all the bits and the pieces, you're getting a reflection from an oracle card and it means this, and then you go to the rainforest and you see the waterfall and you realize that, and over days it's like you're chipping away at something. It's almost like the water that it was chipping away at this soil to reveal these roots. And then you get to the place where you're just like, oh, that's it.
Yeah. As you're talking, what I'm feeling into is like, there's, certainly some concrete things about the words that we shared and the stories that we shared that I could recite, but really so much bigger was like that flow of energy. And like, that's kind of what I'm connecting with as you're sharing with being in the roots of that tree, is like just having that knowing, that felt sense that like, we have moved through this, and like we didn't need to say it to each other. Like, we both knew we had arrived at the pinnacle of this ritual week. Like, it was a felt experience of like, and here we are in the full strength of this. And there was this kind of like process of like filling, and then the like ebbing and release. And then the next day, that kind of like, waking up after the next day after and having that cup of coffee and like knowing that the deed is done. Like there's an energy there that's bigger than the words. And that's more about, I think, our connection with ourselves, with each other, and with the universe. And just experiencing that like vibration.
Yeah. And I think, what I want to share here now, at service to everyone who's listening, is sometimes you don't have 5 days on a tropical island with one of your magical playmates. Sometimes you do have an hour, or you do have time that you're going to, dedicate over the weekend to actually having your own time to do your own reflections, maybe light your own candle, do your own oracle card reading. Like, I don't think it has to be so expansive and amazing like we were given the opportunity to do. It could be like our little voice check-ins at new moon.
Mhm.
you know, whatever you have access to, but also to take from this conversation that we're having around, allow the spaciousness, allow it to emerge, and to also know that you may go back to the same reflection, you may go back to the same intention more than once, and that's actually perfect.
Mhm. Mhm.
I
Yeah.
think sometimes people give themselves a hard time with ritual or spiritual practice or whatever. Like, there's a lot of, am I doing this right?
Mm.
And I always say, if you feel like you're anchored in, if it feels good to you, you're doing it right.
Mhm.
Like, you make up the rules, it's your magic.
Yeah.
And if you have an intention towards, I'm wanting to reveal something for myself, or heal something for myself, or transition from one state to the next, then your intention is everything.
Mhm. Mhm.
And sometimes it may just take longer than you think, or sometimes the ritual itself, or the intention behind, dedicating the time to do it, you may have the next morning, I can feel the difference, like that marked difference that you were talking about before, with like that line in the sand.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I don't think there's any kind of right or wrong or particular time frame,
Right.
but I think there's like this reminder that I share with my community a lot is, we can't rush the magic. We need to make space for the magic. We can't rush it, and we're best served in just kind of like allowing it to happen. And setting an intention at new moon doesn't mean you're guaranteed to get it by the next new moon, one cycle later. And if you don't, it doesn't mean you've been doing anything wrong.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I think something I wanna, like, pull out from what you were sharing was, like, this, like, idea of, like, a micro ritual. Like, we had the opportunity to express ritual on that level, but that expression is sustained by years and years and years of tiny rituals, tiny daily
Yeah,
rituals. And some of them can be so simple, like you said, lighting a candle, or I think I learned this one from you, where you can put out a cup or a vessel of some liquid or water and let it
yeah,
absorb the energy of something that you want to let go of, and then pour that out. So I have
yeah,
done that a variety of times, of just like putting out some water in a cup, letting it absorb either the moon energy or just absorb the intention to release something. And then as I take a walk, I have this ritual. I have this tree I call my ritual tree in my neighborhood that I go visit, and watering that tree and thanking that tree, and that is a ritual that does not take any additional time than my daily stroll.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think, there's also something else to take from our conversation, which is, you don't have to do it alone.
Mm.
Like, where are the playmates? Like, who in your life likes to do this kind of stuff?
Mhm.
Because a lot of what we did over the 5 days of our rolling ritual, we were making it up as it was inspired in us. It was,
Yes.
we didn't sit and plan the days and plan what was going to happen. No, we were
No.
completely inspired either by the nature, or the conversation we were having, or the cards we were pulling. And so I think finding playmates, or finding spaces where these kind of things happen, like in the Big Life Magic Makers, the virtual community, this is the kind of stuff that we do. We talk about, like I teach about the moon water that you were just explaining. And then as a community, we're all doing it. And people are all over different parts of the world, and, sharing in the community pictures of their moon water out on their veranda, or, so it's just like, because I think on your own, if you don't know, if this is new to you, it can be a little bit either daunting, or I don't know where to start. Like, how
Mm.
do I just start doing some magic rituals?
Yeah.
So I would say to everyone listening, if you're like tickled by the idea of starting to add ritual into your life, think about the friends that you have,
Mhm.
and who would be delighted to have an invitation to be like, do you want to try this with me? And or think about, like, in your local, or online, like, who else is doing this?
Mhm. Mhm.
Because you can learn by doing, and it can be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So Tammy, for the people tuning into your magic here, Thank you so much for sharing this magical space with me. But people tuning in with your magic here, what would you like to share about what you want them to know about ritual in their lives?
I think about ritual as like a resource that's available to us. And it can grow out of whatever raw materials are available. So really using found materials. I think about my grandmother, who was an artist, and she used to collect all kinds of little bits and pieces of things for, creative projects or collages or what have you. And it feels like that to me. It feels like it's like ritual is this collage of the bits and pieces. And I guess I would say like whatever bits and pieces anyone listening has are a great raw material to build with.
Yes, I love that. I love that, the idea of it, using it as a resource. Yeah, how is this going to help you or support you or inspire you?
Yeah.
Indeed. Indeed. Tammy Magic, I'll let everyone know, Tammy Magic is the nickname that Tammy received when she was here with us in Tobago, and that nickname has stuck. Tammy's name is not officially or legally Tammy Magic, but in our world, she is known as Tammy Magic. So Tammy Magic, thank you so much for sharing your magic, for, opening up this exploration of this resource that we all have around ritual. So share with everyone tuning in, if they want a little bit of Tammy Magic, what's the best way to stay connected or to connect to you?
Yeah, I would love to connect with anyone. You can find me at tammytae.com, tammytae.com. And I think another great way to connect with me is actually on LinkedIn. And my last name is Kremer, Kremer. So search for me there.
I'll put all of that detail in all of the notes that you find underneath the videos, or if you're watching it or if you're listening to it, it will be there.
Great.
Yeah. Tammy, thank you. For listeners, people viewing, people like wandering a park, people minding a child while you're listening or watching this, we see you, we hear you, we love you. And I would like to share with you now that this is the final episode for season 2. So all season long, we've been talking about the earth, and you've just heard Tammy and I talk about how much nature informed our ritual over many, many days. And so we are now allowing earth to do as it does, which just teaches us also rest. And we're going to take a couple of beats to rest, and then we're going to be back for the next season, which is all about the element of air. We'll get there when we get there, but for now we're going to rest. And I invite you to choose for yourself, what resource do I feel like I need? Is it ritual? Is it a nap? Like, what resource do you feel like you need that's going to support you? And then I want you to give yourself that. Now, Tammy, I also forgot to share this with you, so I'm going to just put you on the spot here. I also dedicate every episode of You Are the Magic. And I've decided that the guests get to dedicate the episode to whoever or whatever they like. And everybody, this is a complete spontaneous moment, so you feel free to take a breath, Tammy. But I'm going to
I already know.
Beautiful.
My grandmothers, both of them. But behind me, if you're watching this on the video, you'll see that behind me there is a painting that my grandmother did. Happened to have been the year I was born, and it's of this ocean scape. And my grandma Phoebe was an artist and a psychologist, and the greatest compliment to me is when my grandfather tells me that I take after her. So she's been with us this whole time. Welcome, Phoebe.
Yes. Welcome, Phoebe. Blessings to Phoebe. Thank you. What a beautiful dedication. And to everybody, feel free to dedicate it to somebody who inspires you, or maybe somebody who you get also the compliment. You remind me of. Mhm. So, my friends, this wraps up season 2 of You Are the Magic. What a delight. Everything you need to know about how you can be connected to Big Life Magic, it's all in the show notes. And again, I want to remind you that Attuned, the 5-day intuition activation, has been released. It is available to anybody and highly recommended. If you want to be activating some magic, a connection to your intuition is a vital ingredient. So that's always going to be available to you. The doors to the Big Life Magic Makers is always open if you want to check out the virtual community. But right now, I'm just going to invite you to take a big, deep breath with Tammy and myself. Smile and believe it to be true, because it is true, that it's you, my friend. You are the magic. Thank you for sharing your time and your magic with me in the latest episode of You Are the Magic. To stay connected to the magic within you, or to stay connected to me, you may wish to check out the Big Life Magic Makers. It's the global virtual community for the magic curious and those seeking to refine their magic mastery. If you go to biglifemagic.com, you'll find the navigation points there to explore the membership. You'll also see various ways you can stay connected to me. There's always the New Moon Circle of Magic, open to anyone across the world. Or if you're looking for a healing transformation or a new direction for you, you may want to work one-on-one with me. All of that is there too at biglifemagic.com. Follow your own magic curiosity and find yourself exactly where you need to be in the magical playground. And if you feel so inspired to, please write a comment. Let me know how this episode has impacted you and your magic. And I would deeply appreciate if you could leave a review on the platform that you're listening or watching on. Breathe it in, my friends, because it's true. You are the magic, and I cannot wait to share more of it with you.